Welcome everybody, and it's just a wonderful opportunity we have here today um, to take part in this competition. So I'm going to read a series of instructions, and then the judges will have an opportunity to introduce ourselves briefly, and then we'll turn it over to the presenting team here this afternoon. Uh, in this part of the competition, you are taking on a fictional business identity and assigning a fictional business identity to the judges. Please make sure everyone knows who you are and who they are before we begin. You will have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all three counts. During this time, teams will be uninterrupted. When you are finished, the judges will ask you questions for about 10 to 15 minutes. During the Q&A, both you and the judges preserve your character. After the Q&A, the judges will give you feedback outside of the role playing. So there will be a distinct change where I will indicate verbally we can leave our character as board members and as your team. So with that, we will introduce ourselves as a judging panel. My name is Robert Beamer, and I work in the financial sector and also in higher ed in various capacities.
Christine Day. I'm a content strategist and entrepreneur, and most of my clients are in the wellness space.
My name is Fernando Ayala. I am a school teacher, and I'm excited to be a part of this opportunity. Thank you.
So I don't know that we have Lynn with us. I don't see Lynn. So we'll go ahead and proceed with our team presentation.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Cristina Barajas, and I'd like to introduce you to Tristan Brink, Christopher Padilla, and Matthew Espinosa. We are TCM Consulting Group. We're presenting to you a consortium of investors. With this project, we're choosing project number 1, SDG 1. Our goal is to end poverty. Poverty, which is a United Nations goal, is to end poverty everywhere. Addressing poverty requires a threefold approach. Firstly, enhancing local cultural values. Secondly, is creating financial vitality. And thirdly, is promoting educational opportunities. So what is poverty? This is poverty. This is what poverty looks like. And these are the faces of the people that we really want to help. How do we do this? Well, let us show you. This exotic locale is Punta Gorda. It's located in Roatan, Honduras. Los Garifuna are the impoverished of Punta Gorda, and we would like to begin our journey here. Our plan of action begins with addressing the Garifuna people and explaining the benefits of proposals. We would like to set forth assurances that land and cultural traditions would not be taken from them. They would actually be getting their land back. The Garifuna embrace visitors wholeheartedly, so they're not against tourism whatsoever. They're against the Honduran government taking actually what is theirs, their land back. This tree pictured here is the gumbo limbo tree, and it is referred to as a tourist tree because just like the tourist, the bark or the skin turn red and peels off. This is one of the many things that we would love to preserve. Animal life such as the endangered white-tailed deer, and most importantly, the Garifuna culture. The creation of jobs would highly benefit the Garifuna. Not only would income skyrocket, but revenue would increase their housing situation. Training for all positions in hospitality, imparting knowledge on sustainable tourism, and teaching etiquette with visitors will set forth a precedent on how future generations will be taught. To succeed with this new skill set and increase in revenue, the people will no longer be below the poverty line. Along with poverty not being an issue anymore, the children will not have to leave school to help provide an income. These children will be taught to make a better future for themselves and future generations, but still not lose their culture. Also, as part of our proposition is making the resort as sustainable as possible. From sleeping pots, which would be built into the landscape so as not to disturb the natural topography, to rainwater collection and treatment for basic island needs, as well as solar panels to dispense energy, travel and transportation, and locally grown and caught food is also featured in our plan. We at TCM would like to show you how we plan on bringing people from all walks of life. The Garifuna will play the biggest, most important role in luring in our tourists. The people will educate visitors on their traditions and on their cultures. They will interact with our Globetrotters on a personal level, showing them how to cook, dance, play music, and enjoy life in general. Along with this cultural entertainment, there are also many trails to hike, seascape to observe, fishing to do, and sunbathing. Lastly, we are here to assure you that any investment you make into our project will not only end poverty, but it will return your investment and then some, ensuring success and future projects to end impoverishment in third world countries. Now, these are the three spheres of sustainability. It's people, planet, and profit. People are the Garifuna and maintaining their culture. The profit is helping the people end poverty and a return on investment. And planet is keeping the island well preserved. Thank you so much for listening to this. I'm going to pass it on to Tristan Brink, who's going to give you a little bit more information on the Garifuna people.
Thank you tremendously, Christina. Now, take a moment to picture how powerful the tourism industry is. You are given an opportunity to travel practically anywhere in the world and have an experience that you could hardly even imagine. And on the other hand, the communities have taken hordes of tourists and benefit not only financially, but from also having their cultures recognized and preserved. Now, I bet you have already imagined a few places you would like to travel to: Paris, Rome, New York, Tokyo, Honolulu, so on and so forth, each of which with their own experiences to offer. And we should notice how well these cities thrive off of the tourism industry. The power of this industry in one of the poorest countries in the world, especially if it promotes a dwindling culture, could be phenomenal. So, we propose developing a resort near Punta Gorda in Honduras alongside the Garifuna indigenous people. With their language, dances, and music being recognized as masterpieces of intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO, the Garifuna possess a rich and vibrant culture. The community is agriculturally and fishing based, which is especially emphasized by their pescatarian dishes paired with exotic boozes infused with roots and herbs. It is an incredibly open culture as well. The Garifuna of Punta Gorda are well known for their vast markets and even host an annual event every April 12th, celebrated through their traditional music and chants. Such events are even open towards the public. Not only is it a distinct culture, but it is also one that is open towards being explored. So tying in the tourism industry with this culture, truth be told, does tie in some high risks if handled improperly. The Garifuna have been open towards tourists, but have also faced persecution due to the tourism industry. Since the Garifuna culture is relatively niche, it may be susceptible to being overwhelmed by more dominant cultures from waves of tourists. We may be able to avoid this due to how much, albeit not as much as we would like, recognition the culture already has. But if we go into this with an unethical approach, we do risk destroying the Garifuna culture. And another issue, however, may come from the indigenous people's problems, again, not with tourists, but with the tourism industry. Honduras has taken acres of Garifuna land for the sake of tourism via eminent domain, which may lead to major skepticism, if not animosity, towards the resort being built. And if we come in to start a development of a resort without the consent of the natives, we are destined to fail. On the contrary, however, the tourism industry could be a major force that could uplift the Garifuna. Honduras is the poorest country in all of Latin America, so bringing in extra revenue would trickle down into local economies. But what is excellent about tourism is when the native cultures are celebrated rather than overrun, and why we imagine most people would be flying to Punta Gorda rather than any other beachfront vacation spot in the world. Tourists can come and indulge in the Garifuna culture firsthand. Yes, the people have had problems with gigantic tourism powers, but throughout their existence, most of it, and to this day, the Garifuna have been incredibly open towards visitors. Drum and dance classes are frequently hosted by natives, and tourists make up the majority of attendance. Festivals full of people adorned in vibrant hairstyles and phenomenal costumes are celebrated with an open invitation to everyone. The Garifuna are well aware of how unique and wonderful their culture is, and they are proud to show it to everyone. And if we continue to keep their pride in their culture strong and give it tons of recognition, then we are guaranteeing success for us all. So, in order for a tourism product to be successful, we must focus not only on the desires of the tourists that we will host, but mostly the cultures and societies who are hosting us. A rich community is what makes a tourism product desirable, and it is our duty as people who are coming in to develop in their communities to keep it rich. If we are to move forward with a project, the top priority is to be moving with the Garifuna people. A great relationship between us and the Garifuna will guarantee success and growth for everyone. We need their input and consent. Since our goal is to enrich their cultures, we put a spotlight on it, or else we would obliterate it. By enriching their culture, we are providing the Garifuna the most impactful tool to address the causes of poverty: pride. If we can enhance a person's pride in their culture and the world's appreciation of it, then we are giving the Garifuna a strong cultural self-esteem. Self-esteem, pride, motivation, dignity, those are some of the 4 strongest tools to pull somebody out of poverty. Now, I will now pass the presentation on to Chris, who will go into further depth about our prospects for this hotel and how we would like to enhance the community with it.
Yes, thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Tristan. As you've heard, we have chosen the location of Punta Gorda, Honduras, which is located on the beautiful island Rotan, which is only 129 kilometers away from the mainland. The island has everything we need to create a successful resort. It has an international airport, a docking port for supplies and people, beaches, and of course what we love the most, the amazing, beautiful people of Honduras. There's 3 ways to get onto the island: a simple 2-hour ferry ride, a 45-minute flight from the mainland, or even a 2-hour flight from Miami International Airport. Simple as that. Now here at TCM, one of our most important ideas is employment. Honduras has been struggling with its economy and jobs for many years now. Currently, Honduran children are forced to work to support their families. This means they literally have to drop out of school around the ages of 13 and 15 just to support their family. That's literally right in the middle of their school career. It is our vision here at TCM that our employees will earn enough to not require their children to work rather than to encourage them to stay in school and study. This attribute of our project will allow more children to stay in school and create a better lifestyle for themselves and their families in the future. Here at TCM, we want to make sure the price is perfect for everyone. A typical night in the island is around $70 a night for your basic hotel and $380 a night for an all-inclusive resort. This is why we are planning to charge $150 a night for your basic suite and $230 for a deluxe villa, with all-inclusive upgrades available for an extra charge. All of your suites we will provide with the basic amenities like a mini fridge, hair dryer, and of course, eco-friendly shampoo, conditioner, lotion bottles, and clean linens and towels. Let me show you a bit of the financial side. As you can see on the first column, we have our revenue of $1,971,000. This is going to be with 60 rooms, occupancy rate of 60%, and average daily rate of $150, which ends up giving us a profit of $206,955. Secondly, if we were to bump up the average daily rate to $180 with the same 60% occupancy rate and 60 rooms, we will have a profit of $255,245. Lastly, if we were to bump up that average daily rate just by $5 to $185 with occupancy rate of 75% and 60 rooms, we will have a profit of $319,000 and $56,000. I can also show you the restaurant side of things, of course. Now, if we were to have a restaurant with 60 seats, a seat turnover of 1.5, and an average ticket price of $15, we will have a return of $49,275. Bump that up to $17 per ticket, we get a return of $55,840. Now, with 60 seats, a 1.5 seat turnover, and an average ticket of $18, we will have a return of $59,130. Now, of course, ending poverty is something that we are very passionate about here at TCM. Education addresses the real causes of poverty. Honduras is a low-income country that faces major challenges, with more than 66% of the population living in poverty. some of them even earning as little as $1.60 a day. By expanding educational resources to this community, we will improve the lifestyles, develop opportunities in careers, create self-ambition, and we will grow their future, making them being able to grow into, doctors, airplane pilots, anything they dream of. This is amazing for the country. And now education is what we believe is the most importantly. That's why 6% of our revenue will support local schools. Schools will go from K through 12. We will make sure that they have top of the country educators, top of the line facilities, 8 to 3 p.m. schedules with all subjects included, including math, science, social studies, English, and Spanish. Free lunch for all, and of course, pathway to higher education, which means they can continue on to universities, get their bachelor's, master's degrees, and even a doctoral if they really wanted to. But we are so passionate about this in order for them to have a better lifestyle. Now, let me send it over to my amazing team member, Matt.
Thank you, Christopher, for that warm introduction. Today, I'll be talking about the construction strategies we'll be implementing into the accommodations for our tourism product, as well as the activities and amenities we will offer as part of our resort. We plan on building sustainable facilities in order to conserve as much as possible the surrounding environment, leaving in our wake the least amount of carbon footprint possible. These facilities will be built with technology that uses the natural abundances Punta Gorda provides and will offer the necessities for the self-sufficient practices needed to pursue this project. Our plan is to lease from the Honduran government an area of beachfront property. Within this 65-year land lease, we will develop the area with the Garifuna, creating an attractive and memorable resort. It is within this time period our investors will receive substantial returns in their investment. We will educate the Garifuna on hospitality practices and how to operate resort facilities to the point where any future leases will be pursued by the Garifuna independently. Our accommodations will have the environment in mind and will be built in the landscape hotel style, meaning there will be a minimal disruption of the surrounding environment. The wooden stilted pods we will use are prefabricated and will be assembled on site. We have estimated the cost per pod at between $8,000 and $10,000. The stilt design is to mitigate wildlife disruption, and aesthetically, the pods will fit nicely into the surrounding tropical flora. It is important we maintain the environmental aesthetic and do not clutter the tropical landscape. Water and power sustainability is of vital importance in running a resort. The little we will need will be provided by Punta Gorda's natural abundances. Because of the area's ample rainfall, we will demonstrate the use of cistern systems for the storage of water, and because of the abundance of the sun, solar panels and Tesla batteries will be utilized for the storage and redistribution of power. Our activities will include deep sea fishing for those looking for adventure on the sea. This will be an opportunity to mingle with Garifuna fishermen and to learn their techniques and local terminology. It's an opportunity to help bring in the catch for later use in our restaurant. For those that wish to stay on land, we offer culinary classes that educate on the Garifuna cooking processes from farm to table. In and around the resort grounds are the gardens that will provide the majority of the produce for the meals we will supply. This activity will provide opportunity to learn about local fruits and vegetables and the cooking techniques the Garifuna use to produce these unique dishes. Our amenities will provide a restaurant that will supplement area restaurants and will host the culinary classes we offer. The restaurant will be full service and serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We will also provide room service. Our culinary classes, in conjunction with the deep sea fishing expeditions, will offer the pescatarian cuisine our restaurant provides. Our farm to table process will utilize as much as possible the local vegetation as to lessen our cost of sales. This will be to mitigate any leakage that may take from profits. The amenities we offer will include a dipping pool. This area will provide an opportunity to experience the best of both worlds as it is an option to the beach. For daily use only, we will have cabanas surrounding the dipping pool to add privacy and add to the rest and relaxation these facilities provide. Our amenities will also offer the full spa treatment for that extra needed relaxation, and is complete with steam baths and trained Garifuna masseuses to work any stresses away. The plan for this resort has been subject to much consideration and collaboration. Here at TCM, we have not concentrated so much on what we should want to sell, but on the realities of what potential customers want to buy. Our plan is dependent on the resort's attraction, and we wish to provide the supply for which there is a demand for. In order to reduce poverty, this investment will be a model for others to invest into communities steeped in poverty. Sustainable hotel accommodations are trending as we see growing demand for environmentally friendly hotels. The experience we offer is more than just the physical attributes this beautiful tropical area provides. It is more than just the beach. It is an opportunity to exchange experience with this culture and to remember the Garifuna are in the world. Now, I'd like to reintroduce you to Christina to present our conclusion.
Thank you, Matthew. We at TCM Consultants would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our ideas on making poverty a thing of the past. We know that by giving the impoverished the proper tools to be successful and ensuring children go to school, we will all make the world a better place. Tristan made the point that the culture of the people cannot, under any circumstance, be lost, and that is such an important aspect of this project. Christopher mentioned rates of revenue rising. When we as humans have children, we want our children to have a better future than when we did. With the raise in revenue, that will ensure that our kids can go to school and become successful and attain that dream that we have for them. Matthew understands that we cannot leave a big carbon footprint on the island. He taught us how to make everything as sustainable as possible. And to think, this is just the beginning of a new venture for all of us. Little by little, we will make places that had always existed but were never seen as tourist locations into a new paradise. For people all around the world, travelers will experience cultures that were not known about before. This will not be your typical tourist spot. You see, we're not trying to sell a vacation. We are creating an experience, while at the same time, helping people that are suffering in poverty. In all actuality, we have put forth a product that we are not trying to sell, but at the same time, people are trying to buy it. This is also our first venture into this type of project, and I can say this with 100% absolute certainty that this project will be picked up by other investors and be repeated many times over. I mentioned before the 3 spheres of sustainability. Sustainability is defined as meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The first of these spheres is environmental, and Matthew has explained how the environmental aspect will be taken care of, such as building the pods on stilts and cisterns. The second sphere is economy. Christopher tells us that revenue will make the economy on the island thrive. I can also assure you that economically, this will be a great and fruitful investment. The third and final sphere is social. Tristan brings the importance of social culture being maintained and flourishing. These 3 spheres equal sustainability. Again, thank you so much for your time and for listening and for your attention. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Very intriguing and well-researched. We'll have time for feedback, but we are still in our role as board members. So I will start with a few questions, and then I will invite my other judges to ask questions as well. We'll start with just an ethical question. So as a lay board member, my main concern is ROI, and I still need a reminder. I need convincing why these other initiatives, when you talk about ending global poverty, I mean, these are high in the sky notions, and I'm concerned about this particular investment in Honduras, not necessarily the end terminus of ending global poverty. So convince me how those 2 different notions meet here.
The introduction to this project is that this is a very safe start for us to begin something more advancing towards poverty. Compared to all the SDG goals, poverty is at the base of the pyramid. And in order for us to address that, then we could more easily address every other pyramid on top of that. What's wonderful about this project in Honduras is that we are engaging with the culture that is endangered, is impoverished, but they are also very open and welcoming. So we want to use the beauty of their culture towards benefiting their communities. And what's great about this is that if we can do that in that scope of Honduras, but every community has value. Every community across the world has value. And if we are able to start with Honduras, and if that project goes well, we can go on to others across the globe, and then we can just continue bringing more and more communities out of poverty with their engagement and with us engaging with them.
Also, with return on investment, this is basically just the beginning. You know, tourists nowadays, they don't want to just hang out at the beach. They don't want to, you know, just do basic stuff anymore. They want to have this big experience. They want to experience culture. And that is bringing so much more visitors to different places like this. So we know that the investment will be returned because this is a new thing. This is a new cultural thing that people want to experience. They want to experience a green, you know, vacation kind of experience. They want this experience, not just a vacation, a holiday.
Thank you very much. And then, you know, you touched on to my second question. So, you know, the fine balance between making a culture known and not exploiting it for manufactured purposes and so forth. So how is this going to be monitored, regulated? I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more about that.
Well, one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that the most amount of profit can be given to the Garifuna people. So even though as the investors are coming in and spending money to get this project going, we do want, I guess you have to understand that that the majority of any profits that would be coming to our resort would be trying to go to help the Garifuna to get out of poverty by educating them, by utilizing that capital as much as possible to lift them out of poverty. So to answer your question would be we want to make sure that the Garifuna can pull themselves out, and as we come in and we help them to set up this project and to get this dynamo going, we want to be able to get them self-sufficient. That way they can continue on their own to do it on their own. So ethically speaking, coming in, we don't necessarily want to continue taking profits away from them, but we do want to help them to self-generate so that they can continue or perpetuate in the future.
Tailing off of Matthew's response too, in order for what we need to ensure that we are preserving this culture is we need active community engagement on our behalf. We need to interact with the Garifuna. We need to interact with their with indigenous people and the elders and such like that too. Because if we come in a step if we come in unethically, there are multiple historical situations where there have been cultures that were destroyed by tourism. A good example is in Nepal. There was a culture called the Lobo. They only existed in one city that was isolated into 1992 when they were connected to an international highway, and it is nearly completely obliterated. And we need to also consider that not only because it's ethical for us towards the culture to preserve them too, but if we get rid of the culture, there goes our profit. We don't have a product anymore. Again, our product isn't the hotel. Our product is the experience. And if we don't have the culture to experience, we just have a shell of a hotel.
Very good. And so, yeah, the analogous immediate exhibit A is the Hawaiian Polynesian example in our culture and society. But many in that same indigenous culture would argue we have taken it too far in the way of marketing, exploitation, and commercialization. So I'd invite you to continue to consider that and wrestle with that question of to what level and extent it is okay to prop up a culture, even if the theoretical benefit is for their own long-term improvement. It really needs to be a point of oversight and a point of close, careful consideration. My last question, a little more specific than the first two, going to the compensation piece for employees. You mentioned $12,000. I'm assuming that's US dollars, and that was, I think, about 10.5 greater than the median What volume of employees are you looking to employ? And are these going to be indigenous, or are these going to be a select few that are in admin roles with the hotel? Talk a little bit more about the compensation piece that you were keen to highlight.
So here at TCM, we do want to make sure we first reach out to the local people. You know, we want to create more employment for them, since, you know, employment options down there are limited, and, you know, they don't earn as much as other employers do, as other employees do. So we definitely want to reach out to them first. We will work with the Garifuna closely on hand, so they could be part of our employees, where, you know, when they go on tours with them, or when they go to their activities, they are part of our employees, but they will also get the same pay as our other employees, because they do deserve it. You know, they are doing the hard work, they are doing, you know, all like the labor and everything, so they do deserve the pay. But of course, we will reach out to the local people first, the people of Rotan, and then the people of Honduras as well. You know, we do want to make sure we provide them with employment options, employee benefits, for example, PTO, sick time, overtime, you know, basically all like the same laws and rules that we have here in the States. So, and then from there, we will reach out to other low income countries where, you know, they could use the help, but we definitely do want to focus first on the local people of Honduras and also the Garifuna.
Just a disclaimer, TCM Consultants does not favor hiring based on race or ethnicity or any of the sort. We are following equal employment opportunities, and we would be based off skill and want everyone to have a job regardless.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
I have two questions if I can ask. Great.
Oh, absolutely.
Great. So my first one is kind of an open-ended question. So what obstacles do you foresee of moving this project forward? So for example, government, you know, things like that. What obstacles do you think could come up as you move this project moving forward?
I think mainly just getting the Garifuna people to accept, which there's not much doubt that they would accept since they love tourists. I think it's just getting the Garifuna and the Honduran government to agree on terms. And once that's all ironed out, we're good to go.
Okay, great. And my second question is about sustainability. So you had mentioned the desire to have locally sourced, you know, both farming and fishing. So with the increase in traffic, what sort of plans do you have for reinvesting in the land and reinvesting in this sort of food chain and farming?
Well, our gardens are in and around our resort, but the idea is that we have a two-plan phase for our pod construction. So for the Garifuna, ideally, on the second phase, they would be able to self-finance any future endeavors that would lead to any expansion. For fishing, that's more of it's more of an activity for our guests, but the Garifuna do fish commercially also. So expanding into that area as of now wouldn't be on our list, but until our occupancy rates goes up, of course. But right now it's more of an activity for our guests.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
So I do have a couple more, Fernando. I want to invite you to ask any if you have any.
I was interested in understanding a little bit more of the accountability aspect. And you referenced that earlier, Mr. Beamer, about promoting such a beautiful vision of a resort that incorporates the people of the area. How is the land and the people, what's the relationship that you have with the government? How are you going to maintain the services and the opportunity for the people so that they are not abused? And I hear a great excitement, and as a person who loves to travel and loves to eat and loves to venture to some of these green cultures, it's awesome. But my concern is what's going to happen to the people there and their land, because once money is invested, their priorities sometimes are set aside. So my question is, how are you ensuring accountability to that community of people and to the land, for the better of their, as you said, you're promoting their needs. How are you ensuring that? How are you working with the government to promote that?
First of all, thank you so much for your interest, and that is a very wonderful question. As us coming in as investors from America, we do have to take a median position between the Garifuna people and the Honduras government in the regards to the land. What our proposition is that we're going to reclaim the land that the Garifuna have taken for hospitality purposes. It was specifically for hospitality purposes. So we would lease it, we would give it back to the Garifuna for their own purpose along with our hotel. Well, of course, we do not support eminent domain. We do not support taking away land that belonged to indigenous people, but because we are foreigners in this situation, that is the best solution that we could do.
And we're also coming in to help and support their overall lifestyle. We will, like I mentioned, we will put 6% of our revenue into local school funding. You know, we do want to make sure we give back to the community since they are doing a big favor for us. So we definitely do want to support them. We definitely do, you know, by us giving them employment and giving them better paying jobs, they will improve their lifestyle overall, you know, help with poverty and of course education, because education is basically, lack of education is the root of poverty. So we want to make sure like those two get sorted out, and we do want to give back to the community in those ways.
Also, there will be labor laws observed from the US. There won't be much tolerated. There will, I mean, what our laws are here will be the same in place there. So they will not be, you know, harassed, disrespected or anything. They don't have to put up with that.
And I can just piggyback in those ideas, answers do help me understand that accountability aspect. With regard to educating the children, I think that's a big long-term vision. I think it's one of the best things I hear, because when you are supporting the needs of the children and those families at such a foundational age, you are setting them up to be able to be more empowered of their own lives and their own lands, etc. So my question on that point is, what are you doing with the schools, and how are you going to educate them to, and then bringing them into the resort, how it's going to, the flow of the people, how they're going to be brought into the community at a later point in their lives, and teaching them how to just empowering them the skill sets to be just successful in their lives as people and as part of this community.
You know, I think that's actually a really good question, because I was actually thinking about that too. This project will affect generations to come. It's gonna be their kids, their grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera. It's gonna affect a lot of generations, and we want to make it clear that good education from a young age can set them up to success, and that's what we want to do here. We want to make sure we set them up on the correct path to success, whether that be in a career in hospitality or as a doctor or architect, anything they want to do. But we want to make sure we give them those resources that they can go on and fight for what they believe in, and, you know, go on, have a better education, go on, and making it clear that, you know, just because they were born in a low-income country doesn't mean that they will not be successful. We want to turn that mindset around and make them think that, yes, I was born here, unfortunately, but I will go on beyond and make bigger things. I will go on to be an entrepreneur, a manager, a doctor, whatever they want to, like, whatever they believe in, whatever they want to do in life. So by us bringing the hotel, and, you know, they'll see their parents working at this successful resort, which will give them self-ambition that, oh my God, if my parents did it, then I can do it as well too. So which gives them like encouragement. And then as well, you know, we could, when they get older, once they're 18 and over, etc., they could get a job with us too, and move on and, you know, further their education, further their work experience, and so on and so on.
Also, have to remember that the children are leaving school now, to provide an income to help their family out. It's not like they want to leave or they don't have school or anything. It's just that they kind of have no choice and they have to leave school to help. This way, now the adults would be working, making enough income so that the kids can be kids. Kids can go to school, kids can play, they can have kid time, enjoy their childhood and go to school and just be what they want to be.
That's great. And if I can just follow up with one more, I didn't see the numbers maybe supported in your spreadsheet, but 6% going towards schools, is that, and some of the columns I didn't see headings that I wasn't too clear on where those numbers were being generated from, but is 6% a realistic amount to help a school, to sustain a school and to set it in motion? How is that going to be monitored?
Yeah, so actually, we're 6% of our revenue will end up being around more than $100,000. In some cases, it can go up to $180,000. This will provide them with better facilities, better pay for the educators because they also do deserve a better pay. They will have top of the line like computers, books, up to date facilities, like working classroom with air conditioning because it gets really hot, and I know how struggling it is to study when it's like really hot in the room. So we want to make sure they have like all those amenities. And although 6% sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to the economy in Honduras, you do see a big impact with just even $100,000. Like this is anything that we can provide for them is going to be a big change for them, and I think that's where we like really see passion about it.
Just to give you a perspective on how fiscally powerful that figure is, my colleague Chris introduced, one Honduran lempiura is equivalent to just underneath a nickel. So that the power of $100,000 would be tremendous in a community that does have a low monetary value and that is relatively impoverished.
Thank you.
I know we've run slightly long with the Q&A. I'll just try to be as brief as possible here with my last two. And I'd encourage just one answer is fine. Something that piqued my interest, Christina, when you spoke at the outset about some responsibility sort of being borne by the actual tourists themselves when you talked about etiquette and possible etiquette training and so forth. Could you talk a little bit more about that? What programs might the proposed development sponsor to encourage the tourists to sort of be ambassadors of this culture?
We beginning with hiring the people, we have to train them. They don't have any knowledge of how a hotel works or anything like that. So we're going to train them with, first off, sustainability, with the etiquette. You can't just, you have to treat tourists a certain way for them to be comfortable. And, I think teaching them kind of how to respect the tourists and the tourists will respect them. I think it'll be like a smooth transition, just teaching them that etiquette that they need to know about how to run that hotel.
If I could add to that, one of the things is producing that guest host relationship. So if any of the Garifuna are going to be going out after they've learned in their schools, if they're going to go for higher education at some of the universities on the mainland, they do want to learn that guest host relationship. That way they could be welcomed how they need to welcome people into their culture.
Exactly.
Perfect. And then just a really quick in the weeds specific on the financial analysis side. I don't know if you came up with a just a hard number ask, like if you did an NPV calculation and this is what we need from the investing board, just a lump sum of what the ask is.
Well, we're going for about $1 million with our pod construction. We're figuring that it's going to come out to about about $500,000, and then with our restaurant and the rest of the grounds, Tesla batteries and the cisterns and everything coming together, we're looking at about $1 million to start it off.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, going once, going twice, going 3 times, sold. We can take off our investor hats and our consultancy hats and just be real for a little while. First off, well done. I'm going to do my little emoji here. Congratulations. It's clear that this group really did their diligence, and each of you, I appreciate, contributed equally on the presentation, and given your confidence and expertise in speaking, it's clear that each of you did your work behind the scenes as well, and that came out in spades. So I'll talk a little bit about content, and I'll talk a little bit about stylistic positives and possible areas for improvement, at least from my lens, and I'll invite Christina and Fernando to chime in thereafter. But look, content-wise, again, you covered a lot, and I think it's strong for the same reason that it's a liability. It's strong because you know, we're right now in the business of returning investment to shareholders. That's important. You have to make a case for that. Simultaneously, this is obviously a competition with ethical components. And so when you talk about education being the root of poverty, and you talk about ending global poverty, and in your executive summary, that's you know, your goal number 1 that you've laid out. It's really important, and I think that is at the crux of why we take ethics classes and do competitions like this. By that same token, it's very easy for there to be almost too many areas to focus on. So again, going back to my first question, we're looking at an individual project, an individual proposal. And so maybe redefining the narrative to how are we going to assist just a local group of people in a very small way. You know, we talk about being a prototype for others to follow. That's fine. But I think the investors, if they're going to be more incentivized to invest by virtue of there being an ethical component, you really have to focus on the micro level. I think you did that to a strong extent, but I did want to mention it because there was some focus on the larger, more macro that I think in many cases only kind of hurt the undergirding argument. With regards to the, okay, so yeah, the legal side, I think Fernando's question right on the money. Each of the Honduran government is obviously going to be a big player here, and the interplay with the business. And the question came up, I believe, from Christine about what hurdles potentially could be present, and there wouldn't be any, and that's fine from a business perspective, but that creates ethical dilemmas in and of itself. When you talk about the history of eminent domain and the plausibility that a company, if it's big enough and rich enough, can kind of call the shots. And that's another thing you'd want to make sure that there's some kind of focus and scrutiny on the ethical side to make sure that the checks and balances are in play there. Again, well-researched on the content side, and appreciated all the areas you covered. Stylistically, I really thought that the presentation was very enjoyable and readable. I like the minimal text. You know, sometimes when there's too much text on a slide, it's almost dizzying, and it's clear you kept that to a minimum, which allowed you to speak about the slides themselves as well as the visuals. You went from very broad, again, the ending global poverty, down to the very nitty-gritty specifics of how we're going to actually run the recreational opportunities at the hotel, everything in between. So it was clear there was a progression there. As far as how you could improve on the stylistic side, I would, you know, just encourage you to really think about simplifying. Again, it'll allow you to have a simpler presentation. When a question comes up in Q&A about how are you tying together, how are you creating a nexus between these broad themes of ending global poverty and creating a viable business opportunity, and then preserving the cultural imperatives of this native group, you know, try to whittle it down to a specific answer. When you get 3 or 4 voices chiming in for a question, it can be kind of hard to remember and hold on to that. So stylistically, just like I said, as far as content, try your best to simplify to the extent possible. And I say that after myself having gone on for 5 minutes. So that's all I have. Again, well done, and I'll invite further feedback.
Hey guys, great job. It's over. It's over. You did it. I know this can be very scary. I've been doing this 20 years, and every time I'm in front of a group, I still get scared. So you guys did a great job. A few coaching things I could offer from a content perspective, exactly like what Mr. Beamer was saying, go narrow and deep. A lot of people, they can't take in that much information, so your brain starts spinning. So that's a really great piece of feedback, is to try and go smaller, but much deeper, so people can understand the opportunity. Another thing I would have loved to hear from you guys is why you're personally passionate about this project, because money is an emotional decision. So I would want to know why you chose this one, why this is important to you, so that when you're asking me for money, I can take on your passion and I can be on board with you. So that's something, as you move forward and you start doing these for real, having the personal connection is very important. And the other thing, kind of like what Mr. Beamer said, is investors care about ROI. So being able to communicate to them very easily of what they're going to get out of it, what the potential risks are. So trying to think through in advance, what reasons would they say no to you? And then you're able to create content proactively that addresses that, so that gets out of their mind and they're more invested in saying yes to you. So those are just some coaching things I would love to offer. But I think in general, your content was great. If I had $1 million, oh yeah, and the ask, always ask for what you want, because if you don't ask, they don't know what to do with that. So always have a specific ask. If I had $1 million, I would love to give it to you.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet.
Sure.
I too am very impressed. I congratulate all of you. It's not easy speaking in front of an audience, even virtually. And actually that adds another challenge in itself. Sometimes speaking when someone else is speaking, you don't have the luxury of standing next to someone and catching somebody's eye and things like that. So much praise to everyone. The preparation, the content was awesome. Seriously, I do like to travel. I've been to places, and the idea sounds fantastic. Just to echo some of the things that have been said already on slides. Keep down the sentences. There's, I think, only one person that maybe sentences. Generally speaking, you guys did a great job keeping the bullet points. Try to keep eye contact even to the camera. Read less if possible. A smile, the energy that you guys shared, it's awesome. Let's see. I am surprised. Did I miss it? Did snorkeling or scuba not get included? Maybe that's just.
Yeah, we only have so much time.
Okay. But otherwise, it was a great presentation. I enjoyed it, and maybe a firm amount. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Matthew. That $1 million, it sounded a little iffy. I be firm, be more certain with that amount if possible. But I feel myself in the Shark Tank kind of mode, and I enjoyed it. And going back to college also. So thank you all. Thanks for the opportunity. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.